Welcome to the Dave Pamah Show, the podcast that revives, restores, and awakens your innermost capabilities.
You have the training and the talent to succeed, but do you have the guts to fail?
I love what I do. When you love what you do, you want to be the best at it.
Today is about the power of you. You will change the world.
Find your path to success through the journey of those who have succeeded. And now, your host, Dave Pamah.
Hi, welcome back to the Dave Pamah Show. And today on the Dave Pamah Show, we're joined by Dr. Mitch Abrams, a powerhouse in sport, clinical and forensic psychology, who spent decades transforming anger from destructive force into a tool for peak performance, all whilst serving as chief psychologist for 7 New Jersey prisons and author of the electrifying new book, I'm Not Fucking Angry. Dr. Mitch Abrams, welcome to the Dave Pamah Show.
Thank you for having me, Dave.
Yeah, and what an intro to introduce that book there in that title. Yeah, what do you have to say about that?
Well, you know, it's funny, when I was putting the book together, you really can't talk about anger without profanity, because the truth is that when people are pissed, they're not worried about being polite.
Yeah.
But the reason why we picked that title was because when I've found is when you talk to people about what's going on in their life and you can feel the bad energy coming off of them and you say, hey, what's the matter? Why are you so angry? Their response is not, well, this happened to me. My wife yelled at me. I spilled coffee on myself. This person cut me off. No, their response is defensive-ness.
Yeah.
I'm not fucking angry. And clearly you seem to be a little bit, you know?
Yeah.
So this book, the title was really all about grabbing people to say, hey, listen, you don't have to be ashamed about being angry. We all get pissed.
Yeah.
It is a normal part of the human condition. The question is, all right, after that, what do you do about it?
Well, exactly. Yeah, that's good. And that's what people now have to sit down and listen to. And we're going to actually pretend that, this is a podcast. So we're sitting around the kitchen table in the fire service, or you're sitting around. You used to work in prisons as well. I'm sure there's a lot of profanity there, as well as in the locker room in sports lockers as well. So let's just be in that environment. So I do apologize if anyone, doesn't want to, they can turn off now, but I think everyone don't mind. They know the world around us. This isn't on the kids' radar.
Right, and I would also add, Dave, that this discussion is not about throwing profanity around just for the sake of. It's in the context of understanding something. So I'll try to be respectful, but also don't want to sacrifice what we're really trying to.
Well, exactly, and that's good that we've had the intro like that, so people understand before they kind of like say, "Oh, okay, all right," before they have a shock further down the line.
Exactly right.
I actually wrote a book myself called Firefighting from Within, and it's more. I was doing some inspirational speaking in schools before I retired as a firefighter, but then I wanted to go into corporates and things like that, so it was a little bit less. It was more the Tony Robbins type thing, rather than more of a man flu book rather than a kind of this is really how it goes on the fireground, well, Dave, or the sports pitch.
You bring up an excellent point. When I started writing this, I thought I was talking primarily to men, because men are identified as having anger problems. But what's funny about that is you talk to any married man and they know that their wives have some anger issues as well.
I'll get more. My wishes has given me more than I've had. So,
right.
Yeah.
So you start to realize that this is a universal set of conditions, and there might be some social cultural expectations of how men deal with things versus women. But the truth is, this is an issue for all of us. And I made it a point to spend time talking about different aspects of people's lives, including parenting and juggling schedules. Because look, anybody who's a parent knows that there are times that their kids, that beautiful ball of cells makes you want to punch a wall, right?
I've got a 10-year-old daughter. Yeah, she's in that.
You understand, right?
Getting to that stage where she thinks she's a teenager, and
they know everything.
Yeah.
They think they do. They go to university, and then a little bit after that, then they'll realize that you're a genius.
Yeah, exactly. Well, hopefully before that anyway. But I'm holding it down there when it comes to that.
Okay.
But I was going to finish off by saying, yeah, my subtitle of my book, it's similarities to your book. It's Firefighting from Within: How to Master the Tools of Life Even During Tough Times. And I know that your subtitle is Less Profanity, and it's saying how to lower something. I forgot it was there. The flames.
Adjusting the flame.
Yeah, adjusting the flames. So it's kind of similar, firefighting from within, adjusting the flames, that kind of thing. So it's how to master the tools
we're
of life.
Kindred spirits. We're kindred lit spirits.
Yeah.
No, I think that the metaphor is really important because, you can't make. There are a few things that make me happier than a good steak. I love a good steak, but you cannot cook a good steak without high heat. And as a firefighter, you don't control that flame, we're going to have problems. You're going to wind up with a piece of leather, not a nice steak. And
we've lost it a couple of times. I've been with, obviously not me personally, but we work as a team. We've lost it a couple of times. We know, yeah. So,
well, I mean, look, if you can harness your anger, and most people know this inherently, when you're angry, you're stronger, you're faster, you have more stamina, decreases your perception of pain. All of that can help you perform in life. The problem is if the anger gets too high, you go over this cliff and then your brain stops working. So the issue is, don't be angry. The issue is, learn how to get up to that red line without going over it. And that means having the awareness and the skill set to be able to adjust the flame so that your anger is the right level to help you get done what you want to get done.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the idea of me doing that book before I left the fire service was to leave a legacy and actually do more coaching and mentoring, online stuff and speaking and stuff like that. I didn't do so much speaking in the end, but I've got this podcast, which obviously replaced it, especially during the pandemic, which was a great thing. Everyone discovered it. I actually did a resilience coaching course, which is doing exactly what you're talking about, getting that limbic part of the brain controlled so that you can bring it to the prefrontal cortex, because the swearing and everything is part of that emotions going on, and you have to let it go and realize what you're angry, label it, and then let it get that problem solving bit when you calm down, really.
Absolutely. A big piece of it, Dave, is acceptance. People really are so defensive about owning their anger instead of realizing, no, if you are not angry, you're probably not as aggressive and successful as you want to be. It's not don't be angry. It's be the right type of anger at the right time with the right people. It's no different than our little commercial about profanity. You got to know your audience. And some places you can do that, and some places you can't. And that requires self-awareness and acceptance of the fact that we're human and we're doing the best we can.
Absolutely. Well, Dr. Abrams, you spent your career helping people, from athletes, as we mentioned earlier, to inmates, channel their anger into strength rather than sabotage. So can you take us back to a defining moment when you first realized that anger, if understood and redirected, as we're talking about now, could actually be one of our greatest sources of power?
Absolutely. Well, it actually happened in two directions. The first was, I was about 13 years old, and I was raging about something. What does a 13-year-old boy have to rage about?
Well, I had too much testosterone going in my body to wonder what it's all going on. I was wondering what was going on with myself, really. At the end of the day.
Well, I was the poorest kid in a poor neighborhood. Yeah. And I was probably upset about a girl or something, and I'm blasting my tunes, and I'm angry, and my mom walks in my room, and I didn't know she was there, and she startles me. And you know those metal chairs that like now you can only see in like wrestling, WWE wrestling. Well,
we don't really. We used to get wrestling when I was a kid, but we don't really get it
so
much.
Good for you. You guys matured up.
Well, we know about WWE, but we don't get it in the. We had a UK version before, but I don't know why they stopped. I mean, UFC now, they got the kind of UFC fight.
Those guys are a little bit more serious.
But anyway, carry on. Yeah.
My mom startled me, and I literally just ripped the chair apart. And my mother was terrified. It was the first and only time I ever saw my mother scared. And she said to me, Mitch, you better get that shit under control or you're going to ruin your life. That was the first time I knew that I needed to control my anger. But when I realized that it had a facilitative value, when I was working my way through undergrad, I was going to Brooklyn College at the time. So I'd take classes in the morning, then I was working at a gym from like around 12 to 10, and then I would be bouncing in clubs at night on the weekend.
Yeah.
So the guys in the gym, everybody thought, this person is stronger than that person. Well, I had a lot of bad things that happened to me, and I was able to summon those things and get myself into a good frothy rage. And I was lifting more than almost everybody in the gym as like 17, 18 years old. And that's when I realized, holy shit, this is good stuff. this is when I started, what are people talking about? Don't get angry now.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't until I got to graduate school that I started to appreciate that things could be both good and bad. And it's not so easily dichotomous. You got to know what the situation is. In fact, I don't know anybody on the planet that hasn't had the experience of someone saying, "Oh, you can't do that." And what's the response that we have? "Oh, yeah? Fuck you, watch me." The anger that we get when someone slights us and challenges us, we could use for fuel, for motivation. It could keep us going when everybody else would quit. And that those situations were the circumstances where I started to realize, wait a minute, everybody's got this wrong. Everyone's talking about anger management. It's not don't get angry. It's allow yourself to get angry, but not so much that you hurt yourself and the people around you. That's the difference.
It's a
and
bit
I
like
think everybody's talking about just don't be angry. And in the world right now, I don't know how you do that.
Yeah, in the self-help industry, it's like, or in the mental health industry over here in the UK anyway, it's like saying it's okay not to be okay. It's like, it's okay to be angry, rather than not be angry. That's what you're kind of saying, isn't it? Because it is a mental health. It is a mental health thing, or emotional health thing, isn't it, really? So you want to just let it out,
Well, because you can't run from the demons anyway.
You can't. You can see if you suppress it or make it worse, actually.
That's exactly. You just hit it right on the head. What happens is that when you don't allow yourself to feel, you start compressing that spring, right? And it's more and more pressure, more and more pressure. And then you lash out sideways. Have you ever noticed, like, people don't spend enough time paying attention to how they feel, but you wake up, let's say you're at a normal mood level, and then one thing after another starts to creep up your anger. Now, each of those times are an opportunity to chill yourself out and get back down to baseline, but people don't do that. And so they push, and then all of a sudden, the straw that breaks the camel's back is usually the stupidest, most benign thing. And people are like, really, Mitch? That's what sets you off? And the issue is they don't see all of the other suppressing that you're doing. And if you don't process it, the body will remember, and you will be irritable, and it'll come out at the most inopportune time.
Yeah. And the other thing really in the personal development world is, well, as I say, more mental health and emotional health world is naming that emotion. So obviously anger is the main one that you look at. But obviously there's lots of other emotions that could be happening. You could be frightened, you could be scared. I've been around people that's been scared and frightened, obviously, with the job I did. We've dealt with, I've seen the different kinds of emotions. I'm sure you've seen other emotions.
Of course.
And then you've got to really know, you go on.
No, the interesting thing about that, Dave, is that physiologically, anger and fear work exactly the same way.
Yeah.
All of your body reactions, it's all fight or flight. The only difference is fear has you running away from something, and anger has you attacking it. But a lot of the things that we use to try to get people to relax their fear response are the same types of skills that help you with anger management as well.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the key word, management. So if you do, I mean, it's not really labeling, it's just naming it so you know what to do with it and manage it, isn't it, really? So if you know you're sad, you're whatever, angry, I'm aware now of what's going on. Let's manage it. Do you see what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, even that becomes a little bit misleading, though, because, I always set up when I'm doing presentations and workshops, I always set people up and say, well, tell me about the last time you can remember getting in trouble for being angry. And it only takes about a moment or two, and everyone goes, all right, I got it. And they're telling the story, and I'm like, all right, I set you up. you've never gotten in trouble for being angry. And they're like, that's not true. No. You don't get in trouble for being angry. You get in trouble for the stupid shit that you do when you're angry.
Yeah.
There's a big difference.
Yeah.
And so if we're going to label our emotions, one of the reasons why we want to be able to modulate it is so that it doesn't lead to destructive behavior. And I think that because there's been so much shame and hesitance to talk about the emotion, then all of the words that are connected to anger also get confused, like aggression. People think being aggressive is bad. You will not show me someone who's successful in life without being aggressive. Now, there are different types of aggression. There's goal-directed aggression, right? That's the tenacity or the passion with which you go after your goals. You need that.
You need that, yeah.
And then there's other types of aggression that could be related to anger, where someone says something bad about your mom and you have to get up and punch them in the head, right?
Exactly, yeah.
That's reactive aggression. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to minimize reactive aggression and maximize instrumental aggression.
Yeah.
Because, but when you say, oh, well, don't be aggressive, bullshit. No one's going to have success drop into their lap. I'm a middle linebacker by nature. I'm an aggressive person. There's no doubt about it. And I dare say that I'm pretty good out of learning the hard way at not engaging in reactive aggression. Certainly, it was an issue more when I was younger, and so the people will often ask me, well, what's the one trick? What's the one thing I can do that's going to prevent me from exploding? And I was like, well, there's actually 100 different tricks, but it all starts with this. You just need to insert a little piece of time in between what's annoying you and your reaction. Enough time for you to consider what the outcome is. A good example of this is I've never won an argument with my wife. I mean, like,
no, I'm laughing because lots of men can relate to that question.
Exactly. Well, and to make matters worse, just when I think I'm turning the corner and I'm about to win the point, right? She'll say, look, I love you. You love me. We've been together a long time. And this is not going to matter in a couple of weeks. And it just takes the wind right out of my sails. Now, sometimes I'm still pissed, like, I want to win, you know? But the truth is, we tend to get so fragile and precious about things that really don't matter in the grand scheme of things. But in the moment, we're like, this is the most important thing in the world. I will die on the sword for this. And it's like, really? Is this really what you want to die? So inserting that time gives us an opportunity to pick our battles and figure out how we want this to go. And it doesn't matter if I'm dealing with an inmate in prison or an executive. I was talking to a CEO 2 weeks ago, and he was talking about, he goes, man, this is one guy that every time we're on a conference call, every single time, he just annoys me to no end. And I know I'm making bad decisions. I said, Bill, you know, every phone has a hold button, right? He goes, yeah. I said, so when you realize you're getting angry, why don't you just either say you have another call coming in or you need to run to the bathroom real quick? You know, you can pause. No one forces you to continue to stay in the arena if you're losing your shit.
Yeah.
So push pause. Say, hey, guys, listen, I just need to run to the men's room. I'm just going to put it on hold for a second. I'll be right back. Now, sometimes going to the men's room will help you because walking it off can do some good, but just removing yourself from the situation and recalibrate, what is it that I'm trying to achieve here?
Yes.
And how do I do it? Because this guy's knocking me off my game. And the most effective people are the ones that are able to identify the obstacles and remove them.
Well, that's why you need coaches like basketball coaches, you know, timeout like that, you know, exactly. and obviously in NFL you call it, but obviously in football matches, the more managers are now getting the red card and getting kicked out.
Exactly.
And, it's really that emotional that even managers get an effect. Well, we call them, they're coaches still, they're coaches actually. But
no, but Dave, how do you expect players to manage their emotions well when their coaches don't?
Well, that's the problem, you see, because they're like steering the ship, if you like, you know, of the whole team. You know, they're the ones that are having that, and it's the same in a fight. You know, the captain or whatever of the fire engine is the one that's actually, you know, have the stadium thing. But they can still lose it as well. But you know, it's that kind of thing, isn't it? Really, you know.
Well, I mean, when the more your job requires decision making, the more you're impacted.
Yeah, life and death. But any emergency job, you know, even in ER rooms and from anything from that first responder to that will require that
Yes.
more, that kind of emotional pausing, if you like. That pause situation is something I do,
Absolutely.
use a lot, and in my coaching as well. But yeah, it is what I am hearing here is that it's really redirecting from negative aggression or anger to positive, I suppose, isn't it, really? Because it can be a positive thing to, in sports you have to have that, like you say, and in my job you had to have that. But if you're calm and
There's no walk of life. There's no walk of life that you don't need it. And the truth is that getting angry is inevitable anyway.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So if it's going to happen, shouldn't you figure out how to make it productive rather
Make
than
it productive. Yeah, exactly. So it's really, it's rather negative, it's positive. Or I forgot the one you said. It's really making it more.
the instrumental aggression is what we're
Yeah,
looking
yeah, exactly. That's fantastic. So I'm quite interested of how you, obviously you've said about your early life when you're 13, and I mean, obviously I got in a few fights only because I didn't know the testosterone was doing it to me. That was talking
for.
more, got beaten up really. But anyway, but with your route, you actually went down in helping in the prison service and also in sports. So I kind of had a similar kind of public service, in sports and obviously in the fire service rather than prison, but they're all public services. You was doing a different certain job, but at the end of the day, that's why you are here now. How did you get down that route then?
To work in prisons?
Well, yeah. Well, how did you go from this first year a kid
very
to?
much by accident. Very much by accident.
Oh.
I mean, I knew in graduate school when I was becoming a psychologist, I knew I was very interested in anger.
Okay.
And the reason that drew me there was because I was really curious about why it was that so many kids from the neighborhood I grew up with in never got anywhere in life.
Mm.
And I knew some of it was the attraction of quick money that gangs and crime can sometimes bring people, especially in a poor neighborhood. But I noticed a lot of it had to do with emotion regulation. A lot of it had to do with not being, and not surprisingly, the kids that had a mom and dad at home that would teach them accountability had a much better trajectory than the kids that didn't, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
that's right.
I mean, all the research shows it. Kids from single parent households are at greater risk for every problem under the sun.
Yeah.
But anyway, I was in graduate school and I was studying under Eva Feindler. She was my mentor, and she was one of the top child and adolescent anger management people in the country. And I said, Eva, I want to take your programs and apply them to athletes. And she said, great. And that's what led me down the sports psychology path, because she told me to go find someone named Shane Murphy. Dr. Shane Murphy was the first full-time sports psychologist for the United States Olympic Committee. So he was a bigwig in the field. So I'm like, Eva, how am I going to find this guy? And she goes, just do what you do. And he winds up sitting right next to me in a conference. And we're talking for a while. And he's like, I love the idea. So he supports me. So that's how I get the anger management in sport niche. But what I did not plan on working in prison. It was nowhere on my horizon. Right?
Yeah.
So I'm presenting my anger management work at the American Psychological Association's conference in San Francisco, and someone comes up to me and says, and at the time I was the senior psychologist in Coney Island Hospital in Brooklyn, and they said, so I understand that you're an anger management expert. I said, I know something. I mean, I was still a puppy at the time. I was a kid. But I knew what the work was, and they said, would you be interested in coming to work in prison? And I went, hell no. I was like, no, absolutely not. And they started throwing money at me, and I went,
okay.
Maybe I will. But I knew that I wasn't sure. When you grow up around crime, you don't know that you want to be around crime all the time as an adult. You try to kind of grow out of it. And I said to myself, I'll give myself 6 months, and if I don't like it, I'll leave. I'm going on my 26th year now. And I think that what happens is that if you work in prison, you either have the personality to fit or you don't. And what I realized very quickly was that I had a lot in common with a lot of the guys in prison. there were a lot of forks in the road that if I made different decisions, I could have been on the other side of the law. And then as I dug a little bit deeper, I realized that most of the guys in prison weren't bad guys. There were a handful of really scary, evil, psychopathic, murderer, rapist types, but most of them were decent people that made horrible decisions at horrible times, or people that almost had such a shitty environment and upbringing, they didn't have much opportunity but this. And then what was interesting is that my world kept on doing this type of thing where it would separate and reconnect. So then as I start to gain this expertise in the sports psychology world, I'm known as the prison guy, not a sports psychologist. In the prison world, they say, "Oh, you're the sports guy," right? So then people start asking me, "What's the difference? How is it that you're working with athletes?" And these were from youth sport all the way up through the pro level. He goes, what do these athletes have in common with inmates? And when I gave them their answer, it was so anticlimactic. They were ashamed that they asked. I said, actually, they're human.
That's a good answer. Good answer.
They're human. And both of those groups of people, their success or their failure is going to be based upon how they manage emotions.
That's true.
And and then you start to realize, well, that's not just professional athletes and not inmates. That's
everyone. Yeah, it is.
But I think that what happens is that prison is where people that do the worst jobs of managing their emotions wind up, and high achievers are in general the ones that do the best job of managing their emotions.
Yeah.
But with a big asterisk, the problem with being an athlete is once you're identified as good, people start giving you a different set of rules.
Yeah.
Right? And then you start thinking you could do whatever you want.
Yeah.
And that sometimes includes the entitlement of, I'll feel however I feel, the whatever way I feel it.
Yeah, I know.
And that can set the stage for domestic violence, red cards.
It's almost like you feel like you're above the law, really, in a way. That's what you're saying, really. It's just
yes, and
celebrities are like that as well, though. Is it some celebrities? You know, it's just that kind of different world, and they're in really, and the people they know. You can look at the Epstein Files case now with all these big names coming up, even in the UK, of Prince Andrews, and it's like, well, they thought they were above the law, but you know what?
Well, I think there's something to it, and it doesn't mean that those individuals should not be held accountable. I mean,
no,
it is true. You're right. Athletes do get treated like celebrities, and they should be held accountable. But let's not forget society's place here.
Yeah,
right? You know, most of these megalomaniacs started out as kids with a little bit of talent, and then the world started telling them, you get a different set of rules. You don't have to put in your homework. We're gonna push our daughters in your direction, right? And now, next thing you know, they start thinking they have a different set of rules because they do have a different set of rules. So if we want to have well-rounded, balanced athletes or any other child with talent, then we need to make sure they have good parenting, good coaching, accountability. I've seen so many times where coaches look like, I mean, the athlete looks like a saint compared to the things that the coaches are doing. And this is who we're trusting to shape our kids. Yeah. And so you can't get very far in life, with very rare exception, without a lot of discipline and a lot of accountability. In fact, I often point out that the only difference between the word anger and danger is one letter. And that letter is D, and that D stands for discipline. Yep. So if you don't have discipline, you're invariably going to wind up in a space that you're going to do something that could potentially ruin your life.
Yeah. I've been around a lot of danger, as you know, in my job, and we had to have a lot of discipline in that service, you know, so I know exactly what you mean. So before we wrap up, do tell us a little bit about the book in the next couple of minutes, before we wrap up in the next couple of minutes, and where they can find you. And maybe one last minute word you want to say to the audience today.
Thank you, Dave. So I'm Not Fucking Angry is a book that's about owning how you feel. And I think that the thing that I really want to drive home is that if you read this, you're probably not going to be angry, but instead shockingly relieved. By reading this book, I think you're going to find that there is relief to the fact that we're all trying to get through this together. We all get angry. Mm-hmm. And I think the greatest obstacle to us managing and harnessing our anger is the shame that goes along with it. This book is all about owning it and learning the skills to adjust the flame to get where you want to go. It is widely distributed. It's on Amazon. It's going to be in barnesandnoble.com. Certainly anybody that has any questions about it, they can reach out to me at my website, drmitchabrams.com. I'm also on Twitter at Mitch Abrams ID. So I really hope that people will take a look at this and realize they're not as crazy as they fear they are. We're all in this together, and the more we're able to manage our anger and adjust the flame, the more successful we'll be in all walks of our life.
Perfect. That's fantastic. I really enjoyed this conversation with you. We could go on forever, to be honest, and I'll probably have you back on the show at some other stage anyway.
I
do have a past guests on the mailing list, so hopefully I'll put you on to just see my podcasts that are coming up, and or your agent. I don't know who it will go to, but they might say, "Oh, we've got another guest," or "Let's have you back on a show with this," or something might come up, and you might say, "This reminds me of Dave in a conversation. Let's bring it back in and see if we can, Or you might have if you have another book, So it'd be great to have you back.
I really appreciate the opportunity, Dave. I think this was a useful conversation for me, because what happens is that when you write a book and you put things down in written word, the challenge is to make sure it has the same liveliness that it has in conversation. And you're an easy conversationalist, so I appreciate the opportunity to
thanks a lot. Thanks. And I come from a similar background. I was from a part of London you're from Brooklyn, right?
Yes.
So I've been to Brooklyn, so I've got cousins that came from the Caribbean, but some were born in New York. So I'm a part of London that is similar kind of thing, characteristics in terms of that part of London, that part of New York was there has similarities,
right.
So I understand what you're saying about coming from that background, and actually doing well and getting out of that little poor trap, and just doing good for yourself,
Yeah, there's entirely too many kids I grew up with are dead or in jail.
Oh wow, yeah, I know in America it's a bit more amplified than London, but it does happen. It happens anywhere. I mean, I've been to the Caribbean. Obviously, a lot of that goes on there, and in developing countries,
Exactly.
So it's just obviously for a developing country with big cities like New York and anywhere huge, there is something still, that we need to rise above and do well in. And I'm glad to speak to someone that's part of that process.
Thank you.
Really
appreciate that.
Yeah, and thanks a lot for coming on the show and sharing your book and your knowledge with my audience today.
It's my pleasure. I look forward to speaking to you again.
That's all for this episode. Thanks for listening, and remember, if you want to support what we do, then share, subscribe, and leave a review over on Apple Podcasts, or head over to my website, davepamah.com, and click on Rate Show. Well, that's all for now, but I'll see you in the next episode of The Dave Pamah Show.
Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.